Hello and welcome to another Lumbridge Night video for free-to-play OSRS. In this video I'm going to be returning to my case for why I think Jagex should be looking to overhaul OSRS free-to-play. After the first video got so many great comments, I wanted to update my proposal. This was a real eye-opener and the engagement was awesome, so first up, thank you. As with the last video, please leave a comment with your opinions on my new proposed changes, including anything you think I've missed, and also make sure you answer the question: does OSRS free-to-play need an overhaul? And if you haven't seen my original proposal video, then you can check that out by following the link on the screen now or in the description. As before, my main rationale is to try and attract new players to the game, initially through free-to-play and then on into pay-to-play, to, fingers crossed, keep OSRS thriving for another 20 years plus. I kind of stand by my original statement here. If Jagex can create a better free-to-play experience and they can increase the active player base, they should be able to convert more players to members. More members should equal more money, which hopefully will mean more investment in the game. I know this is an idealistic point of view, but generally speaking, these principles should apply. Now I am going to add a caveat here that my previous statement is true if, as was pointed out by your comments, free-to-play is redesigned to be more representative of the membership experience, or to build more towards how it is current day. I think a big takeaway from a lot of your comments was how the gap between free-to-play and pay-to-play is massive and gets bigger pretty much year on year. This brings me to my first point, which I'm sure we will all universally agree on. A huge number of people commented concerning the bot situation in free-to-play. Archer v Slucas had just such a comment. So let's have a think. In the case of scalpers on the internet, companies employ capture, queuing systems and VPN blocks to try and stop shopping bots. In gaming, there are a lot of anti-cheat software providers that must be able to stop botting on some level. Unfortunately, all these services will cost development time and money to implement. This kind of investment in free-to-play then unfortunately offers limited immediate benefits to Jagex as a company. Can we come up with a cost-effective in-game solution then? By taking inspiration from capture, I think I have an idea of how anti-botting could be done in OSRS without the need for expensive software or massive redesigns. Firstly, some clever dev at Jagex will need to develop, if they haven't already, some pattern recognition programs or software. Something that looks for a high degree of repetition and accounts for variance, so even advanced bots that click on different squares and mix up their timings would still be recognised. Now, assuming we have our pattern recognition system tuned and ready, my new OSRS capture system will be triggered on a random time interval once the system suspects the player may be botting. My system would take the form of any of the current random event NPC characters. The player must then click on the event character when he or she appears, and in reply they will get a random number sequence. Under the settings tab, I would add a capture code input validator, and the player must then input the code here. If the code isn't input after a set amount of time, say 2 minutes, the player will be logged out. Successive failures result in ever-increasing penalties, leading up to a permanent ban. Would this work? It sounds simple, and the pattern recognition would be the tricky bit that would potentially need a lot of development work and tuning. But I'd assume they may already have something like this. In any case, I don't know. What do you think? Let's assume we've dealt with or are dealing with our bot problem. Moving on, I had several comments, such as this one from Autumn Elegy and this one from Slim and Blue. Both mention the big gap between the low to mid-level game and the pay-to-play endgame. Something I think is a fair observation and definitely a potential opportunity. Now, other people have suggested that player interaction and group activities were the main driving force of free-to-play, and I have other suggestions for that in the next point. But I think my first step would be to either update Tutorial Island to include members only skills, as well as some more advanced concepts, and or add a second tutorial for the first time you join members, or at some relevant trigger points such as the conclusion of Dragon Slayer 1. The point of this update being to offer a better understanding of the skills in members and some of the mechanics and elements required for bossing and progressing in the pay-to-play game. Ideally, I would implement this as an optional segment added onto the current Tutorial Island, where the players can choose to do the new advanced tutorial They would then take a boat, and that will take them to the new advanced island. Here they would essentially complete a series of tasks as part of the tutorial. This could all be themed on killing a boss at the end, which would be the advanced combat tutorial. The same result could also be achieved through the creation/inclusion of a few additional quests that act as tutorials for the various skills and mechanics. As to which would be better, I'm open to suggestions. Please like the video and support my content. Thank you, noble knight. Probably the next most common sentiment from comments such as YTUserX666, who suggested it was less about content and more about player interaction. This is a sentiment I totally agree with, as although overcrowding is annoying, sometimes random interactions or friends you make in the game can make the game worthwhile. Currently in free-to-play, it feels pretty empty most of the time, and while I'm down with that as I mainly run solo, PKing in a deserted worldie kinda defeats the point. So what can be done? Well, first I think clans could be developed a lot more. Offer clan goals and targets that can be completed as a group, grander customizations similar to player houses but maybe castle based to increase the functionality and visuals, an active group combat league in both head-to-head battles and certain mini-games. All this could offer some good gear options and rewards only available via the clan system. There's also a few quality of life improvements that I would support. An example of such would be the chat box. I mean, are we not at a point now where the game needs a better chat box? I'm all for keeping the styling, but talking via chat is pretty terrible, and though we all probably use Discord or similar these days, it can't hurt to bring the chat into the 21st century or even integrate Discord somehow. I also received a lot of comments asking for more bosses and a low to mid-level raid being added to the game to introduce the concept, as it's totally missing from free-to-play at the moment. In this regard, I feel that Spurious being members only is a big missed opportunity. This could have been a great overlap point between free-to-play and pay-to-play, though reading the news articles it does appear to be a solo boss. I think the ideal would be a group boss/raid instance, something repetitive and team-based that would offer fair rewards for both free-to-play and pay-to-play players. The pit in the ruins of Camdozel would be a great location for this too. And this brings me nicely to my next point. Previously we discussed adding more bosses into free-to-play, particularly into the wilderness. A sentiment shared in a comment from Inexact. I think the free-to-play endgame could be more focused on the wilderness by adding in a lot of the pre-existing bosses. Even if this creates a kind of botting problem, or makes the botting problem worse, it would almost certainly solve the problem as the bots would be ripe for PKing, right? Same with adding dragons back. Yeah, I'm sure loads of people would try to farm dragon bones, but if we can re-establish a PKing presence, it will make botting a lot less profitable. Also, looping back to my original point, as a form of free-to-play endgames, Spurious would have also slotted into this plan nicely, and maybe in the long term the dev team are considering making that content free-to-play once members have gone through it and become bored. So insofar as a more advanced boss, there is potential for this to be added to free-to-play in time. What the game needs to add is something that is fun and repetitive, while also advertising to players that this experience would be better in pay-to-play. I'm kind of repeating myself here, so I'm going to move on, but all in all, a rejuvenated free-to-play worldie would be better for everyone all round. Another idea that a few people mentioned, and was commented by That Boy Meek, was the idea of a few free weekends throughout the year in order to allow free-to-play players to experience membership. Of course, these free weekends would be free for everyone, so it would save a tiny bit of time and money for members too. An alternative to this suggestion could be some more combined events that offer rewards to all players who take part. For example, there could be a Castle Wars special event that's common to both free-to-play and pay-to-play. Clan leagues and tournaments, some regional skill challenges. Hopefully this makes sense. What I'm aiming for is to use existing content in a way that's open to all players and brings the entire player base together. Personally, they could sack off the holiday/yearly events and replace them with these, and it would be an improvement. Not sure if I'm on my own with this one though, so you'll have to let me know. Do you enjoy the yearly holiday events? Are they any good? Or would you rather see something a bit more meaningful with proper rewards? Let me know in the comments. Going back to my original video and some of the ideas there regarding items, areas, skills, quests, etc. Comments were mostly in favour of a higher level cap and some more equipment, skills and quests being added to free to play, as the comment from Rocade3566 demonstrates. However, my increased map size was largely seen as too much. Generally speaking, the current status quo in free to play is pretty well established, and I'm happy to agree that the set area should probably be left as is. That said, I still feel that there needs to be an additional magic armor set with a defense and magic level requirement of 40. U-bows and some crossbows should also be added for ranged too. I feel more quests which lead to some of the member quest lines would also be a good addition to increase skill knowledge and encourage players to try out membership. One last curveball I would like to throw is that in RS3 all players can level member skills to level 5, so why not do that in OSRS 2? I'm not saying that items and content associated with said skills can be used or even accessed inside of free-to-play, but a suite of new quests that introduce the skills and allow some very basic training would help show players what's out there. This could equally be part of the Advanced Tutorial Island, which once completed sends players back into regular free-to-play. Another option would also be for players to control a generic avatar character in this area and thus avoid any issues regarding members' skills inside of the free-to-play game. In conclusion, thanks to your input, I've been able to try and formulate some more specific changes and objectives. I think an Advanced Tutorial Island with access to all the members' skills and a basic boss at the end to teach more advanced combat skills and game mechanics, combined with a joint, low-level, raid or team-based boss or minigame, would significantly improve the free-to-play and early pay-to-play experience. Add to this a few quality of life improvements, an upgraded free-to-play wilderness, as well as a few free weekends or combined minigame events throughout the year, and I think we would start to see a return to the social glory days of the past. But these are just my thoughts. What do you think of my new and improved list of changes? Do you agree? Would you add more? Or do you once again want to reiterate, leave free-to-play alone? Let me know in the comments. And all that's left for me to say is I've been the Lumbridge Knight, peace out, and thanks for watching.